Hey, what's up? It's me, Don Weeb here, back with another part 2 for What If Asta was Meliodas' son. If you guys have not already, please make sure to go back and watch the first part in the playlist, which you can access here. And if you have not already, make sure to like, comment down below what you thought of this video after you're done watching it, and subscribe to the channel for more videos from me. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. Enough of that, let's just get right into this part for What If Asta was Meliodas' son. Last time, Asta has just took inside of himself the power of the anti-magic devil, which he can sense within himself due to him already possessing magic from the Seven Deadly Sins universe. Anyways though, his mom, Elizabeth, would be extremely shocked when he had come home that night and showed her his new grimoire that he'd gotten from the ceremony, quotation marks, with him not telling Elizabeth about him having received the grimoire after it, with Elizabeth extremely proud and confused with how her son actually got a grimoire, since the Wizard King himself had told her and Meliodas that it was unlikely that either of them would ever come to possess grimoires of their own, like everyone else in this kingdom, which is one of the main reasons he had to hide them away so that people wouldn't grow suspicious of how they could use magic. With Asta, anyhow, now possessing a grimoire, this fear would now leave Elizabeth, as he can now go to the royal capital and apply to become a magic knight without any suspicion. Elizabeth would embrace her son, as she's extremely proud of Asta when she tells him that she honestly didn't think he would get a grimoire, with Asta then looking up to her as he smiles, saying it's no big deal. With him excited too on the inside, he would tell his mom that he's going to become the best magic knight in the entire kingdom, and eventually the Wizard King. We see a quick flashback to actually the day previous to this one, where Asta and Yuno give each other a fist bump, with Asta being slightly shorter than Yuno. A lot shorter than Yuno. And this actually has been something that's bothered Asta for a while, but with his mom being tall and him being short, he would ask why he's so short compared to everyone else, with this causing Elizabeth to laugh as she remembers Meliodas, and she would explain that it's his father's fault. This would actually cause Elizabeth to laugh as she remembers a memory of Meliodas now being hit around by Deanne. When Elizabeth remembers Deanne and she thinks of the other seven deadly sins, she will go quiet for a second before telling Asta with a smile that he'll be fine. With Asta going off on his journey with Yuno to head towards the royal capital so that the two of them can participate and try and join in on the Magic Knights exam, Elizabeth would wish Asta good luck as she waves off her son as he goes on his way to try and become the next Wizard King. Asta and Yuno would be traveling for quite a while, as the two of them would be eating together and overall just traveling across the land before they can get to the royal capital. With Asta having never been to the royal capital, at least not in his memory since before he was a baby, of course, Asta would be seeing things new for the first time, with Yuno following close behind him. Asta and Yuno would then see it, the great stone walls of that protecting the royal capital. It's huge, Asta would say, as his eyes are filled with wonder, as he gazes at this humongous structure, that being the royal capital, with hundreds and hundreds of buildings making and composed between the walls, as he sees the great castle on top. That's where he would be, right? Asta would think, as he thinks about the Wizard King, if that's where the current one is sitting right now. Asta and Yuno would then enter into the gate, as the gate would open for them, with them as well as other people from around the land having all been sent by their families or willing to go on their own to try and apply to become magic knights. With Asta and Yuno now entering into this royal capital filled with nobles and royals, so many new things would pique their eyes, as Asta would see different types of food he's never seen before, heard of. He would see people going about their day with different types of magic and different clothing that they would wear. With Asta now being introduced to this new world, Yuno himself would also be in shock, as Yuno, who had always been rather quiet and soft-spoken, was now seeing something amazing for the first time. Asta would tell Yuno that he's going to go off and find something for him to eat, as he would then run off to the stalls, with Yuno holding his hand out telling him to wait. With Asta coming back rather quickly with three garden snakes on a stick, he would then offer one to Yuno, who would smell it and say he'll pass. Asta would then say, "Suits yourself," as he would then gulp all three down, before tasting it for himself and then gagging on the flavor. He would then pull his hands away from his throat as he then says it's actually not that bad, as he and Yuno would then continue walking towards the arena where everyone was supposed to meet up for the Magic Night exam as they were told by letter. With Yuno and Asta now heading through the city, they'd finally make it as they enter through the great doors and see hundreds of participants sent from all over the Clover Kingdom, hoping to become those of the elite, the Magic Knights. There they are, the Magic Knight squads, the Golden Dawn, the Silver Eagles, the Crimson Lions, the Blue Rose, Green Mantis, Coral Peacock, Purple Orca, Azure Deer, and the Black Bulls, with all 9 magic squads and their captains assembled, something that was rather rare for all the captains to attend to. Everyone would be shocked, as they hadn't seen all the captains together in such a long time that it was a major event. With everyone in the stadium excited, especially the participants, of course, the participants would be ready to show what they've got, as we would then see Asta and Yuno preparing for their first test that they'd have to take. The first, of course, being how to fly using a magic broom. Asta would gulp as he feels nervous, as he's never been able to, or try to actually fly using a magic broom before. Yuno would easily grasp as he begins flying around the stadium, as many other participants have started as well. Asta would close his eyes as he focuses on his magic. He feels his angelic and demonic halves, as well as the new line that's formed between them, his anti-magic. If you remember those birds that were in the stadium that can sense if someone has low magical power, you can see that all of them are being converged into the corners far away from the middle, or that's where Asta is, you would say. Asta, although not having Black Clover's magical power, is extremely powerful when it comes to having copious amounts of magic, since he is half demon and half goddess, and his pure presence has enough pressure on it that the birds themselves will be wise enough through instinct not to mess with him. With Asta now stepping on the broom, he would focus as he tries to use his own magic, the demonic and angelic magic he has from the 7 deadly sins. As he focuses this more powerful form of magic that he's used for all of his life into the broom would shatter into pieces, as all the captains would be curious about what just happened, as the entire broom just exploded from the overload of power. Asta would be worried now, as he tries to use his third power, anti-magic. As he's given another broom, as he tries to focus, this time the broom would do nothing as it doesn't fly or anything. He'd be nervous and sweating, as he would then put the broom down and then walk over to the captains. He'd raise a hand as he then shouts out expectantly and asks something. Does he have to fly using a broom? Or if he has another way of flying that he prefers, could he do that instead? The captains would nod, overthinking this, and then saying that would probably be fine. As long as you can fly, that's the most important thing during missions so you can get to places. Asta would thank them very much as he's now at ease, with looking over and seeing what Asta's about to do, thinking this is going to be flashy. Asta would focus as he tones out his demonic half, as he then focuses on his angelic side, remembering how his mom had explained it to him. We see a flashback to Asta when he was around 8 or 9 years old. From his perspective, we see Elizabeth standing there, as she's showing him how to use Arc, the magic that the goddess race is famous for and is used against demons. This Arc is something that she'd only been able to master after she'd awakened her memories and had escaped with Meliodas after, well, the 10 Commandments had struck. Anyway, back to the present for a moment. We suddenly see a golden and white light begin to surround Asta, as Asta's hair would take on a much brighter tinge as it becomes more white-like, and a softer energy would flow around him. As on the left side of Asta's back, suddenly this magical power began to take shape, as Asta began to float into the air. He'd be flying around easy as a bird now, as he now has on the left side of his body a massive wing with pure white feathers. Back in the past, we see around an 8 or 9-year-old Asta, who was now with Elizabeth as she was training him how to use Arc, the famous magic that the goddess race was known for, and she would teach him how to convert this magic and use it to create wings so he could use flight. Asta would now be flying around the stadium with bits of feather and magic trailing off of him, as we see Yuno flying next to him on his broom. Asta would be impressing the captains amazingly so, with even Yami impressed now as he's now taking his eyes off from the ground and would see this, as no one else has ever used something like this during the flight test. After the test ended, Asta would turn off his magical power as he feels the flow of magic through his back and would cut off the flow of magic, causing the wing to disappear into a bright flash of white light, before Asta's back on the ground and looks like he's back to normal. Everyone who was participating would have been shocked at seeing Asta's magical power, as he had used that to actually fly, which was rather impressive. People were running up to him and asking what kind of magic he has, as how did he do that? Does he have some sort of flying magic, some sort of maybe transformation magic that allowed him to grow a wing? Asta would be trying to push everyone off him, as Yuno would tell him to back off. Yuno would help protect Asta, as everyone would also respect Yuno after seeing his flying skills as well. With Yuno impressed with Asta not even knowing about that he could do that, he would tell Asta that was amazing, and definitely a good way to show off in front of the captains. Asta would smirk as he then looks from left to right, saying he was just showing off a little bit. With Asta and Yuno now waiting for the next stage of the participation, the captains now have an eye on both Yuno and Asta, thinking that they have two prodigies on their hand this year. The next stage everyone was even more excited for, as it was now time for everyone to battle in the arena. Asta and Yuno would be the two people that everyone wanted to avoid most. However, the nobles themselves would be going after Asta specifically after them showing off in front of everyone. Damn that peasant, they'd be thinking. Which is actually funny, since Asta is actually the Prince of Leones, so he is technically above them in royal ranking if they really wanted to think about it. But they don't know that, and Asta doesn't even know about that either. Anyways, with Asta now being targeted by the nobles along with Yuno, one of the nobles who would have ice magic would target Asta, saying that he wants to fight him, with them being the first people to participate. Asta would tell him he has 10 seconds to take it back if he doesn't want to lose and get kicked out immediately. With the captains being extremely excited to watch this fight, the noble would laugh as he tells them that a peasant's trying to command him what to do. Asta would tell him that he warned him, as he would then ask him what he wanted to beat him with as they entered the arena. What? I'll give you a choice. Would you like to lose from this power? He would say, as Asta would lift his right arm, and suddenly a jet black and purple energy would shoot out as he creates an axe by using his demon metamorphosis, where he can create dark energy, as he then slammed this axe into the ground, causing a large explosion. Was that dark magic? The other captains would be looking at Yami expectantly, as he would just shrug his shoulders, saying it was way too fast, that he couldn't sense it in time or even scan what type of magic it was. With then Asta saying, or how about this one, he would say, as he then opens up his other hand and creates arc, causing an explosion, destroying the ground on the left-hand side. The noble would be falling and he's shaking to the ground, with him realizing, oh, but that's not without using my grimoire, right? Asta would say as he smiles, pulling out from the left-hand side his grimoire, as he would then reach in within and pull out the jet black sword of the demon slayer's sword. The noble at this point would be crying, as he just fell to the ground from pure shock, with the captains impressed that wasn't even using a grimoire and that's how much power he had. Asta would then ask if he wants to go the fourth route. I won't use any magic at all. With him then putting all of the magic power that he just flexed away, him showing off expectantly for the captains, Asta in his head would be freaking out right now, saying he didn't mean to go that hard with his ability, as he hadn't even tried to use that much of his demon power, since he doesn't have such a good handle over it as his angel or even his anti-magic power. With Asta now freaking out in his head but still trying to act confident, the noble would then say that there's no way he could beat him without magic power. Asta would then tell him that he'll prove that theory, as the noble would then run towards Asta. With the noble running at Asta and about to use ice magic, he would freeze the entire area, saying that if he doesn't want to die, then he should forfeit now. As he creates a blizzard of complete ice, Asta would then rush forward, as he uses his demonic-like strength. He would pull back his fists as all the captains are watching, as he physically punches through the attack. As he's now in close range, the noble would then try and use a sneak attack, as he pulls out a knife from beneath him and covers it with his magic, as he's about to stab Asta with it. Asta would think, as it's too close. Asta would take the hit, as his skin, which is almost like as hard as rocks from being a demon, would suddenly be covered with purple markings, as he activates his demon sign and energy to cover him. As the blade is about to pierce into Asta's body, the blade would shatter on impact, as Asta quickly then reseals his demon power. As he then slams his fist into the noble's face, causing him to go flying into the wall and crashing to the ground, Asta would have a solid victory. He would have completely outclassed that high-ranking noble in both magical power and physical strength. All the captains at this point are watching. Even the coral peacocks, whose captain's usually asleep, would have stopped snoring for once, which everyone was surprised about, as even she could sense this power. Asta would then go back outside to the participants, who would all be shying away from him as they saw that monstrous display of power. Asta would then feel a hand on his shoulder. He turns to the right and sees Yuno patting him, telling him that was impressive, but he needs to be more careful. If he hadn't been able to block that in time, with him, seeing the black markings having appeared just in time to block that strike, then he could have actually taken some damage. Asta would nod, saying that he needs to show off in front of the captains, though, right? If I'm going to become the Wizard King, then I might as well start impressing from the very beginning, he would say as he smiles. It'd be Yuno's turn up next, and Yuno would use his wind magic to easily dispatch his foe as well, with all of the fights now taking place. Now that the battle portion had ended, it was time. They would explain how the captains would be choosing who would become their new squad mates, as the examiners would then say that if a captain wanted you on their squad, the examinee would be called forward individually, and if any captains would wish to induct that examinee, they'll raise their hand. If more than one captain raises their hand for an examinee, then that examinee would be free to choose which squad they would wish to join. Examinees are considered to have passed a test if at least one captain is willing to recruit them into the squad. With multiple participants going up and being denied or being accepted, it was finally time for Yuno's turn, Yuno going first before Asta. With Yuno walking in, all of the captains would raise their hands, as we see Yuno be shocked, as he would then choose the Golden Dawn to become his squad. Everyone would clap, as the Golden Dawn usually doesn't accept anyone besides nobles. Asta would cheer for Yuno, telling him he did an amazing job, saying how proud he was of his friend for having accomplished that much, but saying he's still not going to let him become the Wizard King before him. With now more examinees passing, it would now be time for Asta's turn. As Asta would walk out onto the stadium arena area, where he'd be called forward, everyone in the participant section would be holding their breath, as they had seen Asta do some incredible things during his time at the entire performance of the ceremony. As Asta takes a few steps forward, he can feel the beat of his foot clacking against the stone, matching rhythm with his 7 heartbeats. As he stands in the dead center in front of the captains, he would take in a deep breath as he closes his eyes, waiting for them to raise their hands. As he would open his eyes looking up, he'd breathe out a gasp of relief as everyone in the stadium began to clap. In front of him, all of the captains would have raised their hands, and now it was up to Asta to choose which squad he would be in. If you guys want to see the next part for What If Asta was Meliodas' son, make sure to slap the like button, comment down below what you thought, and subscribe to the channel for more videos. There's going to be a poll in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to have you guys pick what squad does Asta actually go into, and you can either do that or comment down below which squad. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.